Sorry, my screen stopped, but I just want to share it in a bit so that we are able to see all of us, that we are in the same page. So I hope you are able to see my screen. Yes. Very good. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so actually at this juncture, we are going to welcome Kungu to give us his keynote address. I hope my screen will be able to respond accordingly so that we may be able to see the profile of Kungu going forward. So at this juncture, let me not speak too much. Let me welcome Kungu to give us his keynote address, but also to introduce himself, tell us who he is, the organization he's working with, and the areas they engage in, and then for him also to give us his keynote address. Please welcome Kungu.
Thank you so much, Kavins. I'm happy to be here, and I believe I am being audible enough for everyone. I would like to start by saying that I've been a peer educator for the last 7 years. I have mentored students. I have been able to even talk to communities in different slums. I've served in Kibera slums. I've served in Madare slums, done a lot of research around that area. I've even done some research in somewhere we call uh, Mlolongo, where we have had high cases of HIV prevalence. And apart from that, I'm also a mentor. I do a lot of mentoring for young students. And currently, I am supporting Secours Islamic France, that is Islamic relief services here in Kenya. And we are working in Kenya and Somalia. But what we are doing mostly, we are working with orphans and vulnerable children, ensuring that that their well-being and their education is catered for. So I think I did everything. I said everything, unless there's something I missed. So can I just go ahead and start, or do you need to introduce others?
Okay, just go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much. So while dealing with young people and while in my journey of working with young people and teaching them, I've been able to even teach in France, which was really an opportunity for me to be able to integrate my language speaking skills. So I do speak French. And while I was teaching them here in Kenya, while I taught them in France, something I noticed with young people is that we do like playing, but then sometimes we play because others are playing. But my question has always been, we are playing, are you okay? We are playing, are you okay? And as coaches from a different games from different areas and different environments, you'll find that you have students, you have players who come into your fields, different genders, they come in and they express themselves differently. And that's why I'm going to tackle the first question on how can the intersection of sports, mental health, and HIV be effectively addressed in youth-oriented programs. And what we have seen today, a high number of students, a high number of players, everyone is trying to go back to the field, but a high number of them are still playing inside. Those are the video games. But for those of us who have been fortunate enough to have grounds and fields where we can play, we have called in young people to come in and play. They have done street soccers, they have done tournaments, and we have seen them, others win, others lose. But as we say, in games, we are all winners. But then we have not been able to tackle this question of mental health. And as you can see, sport actually emphasizes that we are all coming together to play together in order to create our interpersonal and personal skills. And from here, you find that we are forming social relationships, but the overall goal here is when you're playing with another opponent, we are just playing, some of it is competition, and your coach is pushing you, go forward, move forward, you need to advance, you need to score that goal. But then are we really taking care of somebody's or these players' mental health? Are we actually looking beyond that ball, or are we actually looking beyond that sport that we are engaging in? So I was happy to be invited to share with you. And for me, I believe mental health is an aspect or an area which we have not tackled as much. Because even in Kenya, where I am, you can find that even the government is not as busy or as concerned with mental health as the other communicable diseases like cholera. We hear cases of cholera and they're everywhere. But then when we get to cases of non-communicable diseases, those ones we lack, and they're lacking, and especially you only find few organizations which are actually trying to maybe promote their pharmacies or their drugs that they're selling, which are very expensive when it comes to non-communicable diseases. That becomes a problem for all of us, especially those who are coming from poorly economic backgrounds. So in terms of defining mental health, maybe somebody can point out something or they know about mental health, maybe a definition. You can give us a definition of mental health, and then I can be able to give us further information on mental health. And as we continue, you can be writing, I'll be checking your chats to see whether people understand what mental health is and how we can incorporate mental health, and how we can actually be able to help our players, even our youths, into be able to recognize themselves. Because we have youths that are playing, that are actually abusing drugs, but they have not gotten that opportunity for somebody to come down and sit with them. And that's why we, as an advocate, I'm coming forward to asking you as coaches, kindly come forward. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about how we can help youth, even as we engage in our different sports, because we have seen different sports activities where we have even had uh, very prominent, famous players. We have tennis players, we have footballers, we have soccer players, we have American football, but they come together and say, for sure, I had to quit for a while because of my mental health issues. I had to quit for a while because I felt like I was being pushed beyond. Yes, we asked for them to go beyond, but they felt like they were stressed up, they were depressed, and at this point, they had to stop back, they had to reflect so that they can come back again, they can renew their strength and come back to the field. So if just in case I would like to define the definition exactly from the World Health Organization, and they define mental health as being the condition of social well-being, physically, mental comfort. So mental health is characterized by not only the absence of sicknesses, disability, or physical defect, but by the existence of a well-organized healthcare system that encourages psychological well-being. And I'll actually add and say that individual mental health would actually refer to a person's ability, to his capability, to his ability to be able to reach his full potential, to be able to overcome stress, to be able to be resilient. And that's why we are including sports into this particular aspect. And we're saying, can our sports help us be able to identify mental health issues? Can our coaches be able to come in and help us identify these issues of mental health? And I've always said that when you're looking at the few young people that have actually been engaged in mental health issues, and actually, as far as we are concerned, they are working or they are very busy, maybe trying to get money from sports that they are playing in. You can see that under half of all the individuals with mental health disorders, they experience initial onset, especially when they are young, when they are under actually the age of 18. And we have been doubtful and saying that, oh, I grew up as an adult, I see that the problems keeps adding up. But then we don't even look further and ask ourselves, are our children also experiencing mental health issues? Because if you look carefully, a high number of children of statistics, they record that most young people under the age of 18, they tend to experience mental health issues. And they're not only experiencing mental health issues because somebody is maybe stressed or has anxiety, but because our expectation of these young people to achieve their potential, we expect them to be high than we were actually are. If you find yourself as a coach, maybe you played soccer or football when you're young, and you only made it to maybe halfway to the division, but now you are here, you're expecting that your team should be able to get to the provincial divisions. Your team should be able to go to the nationals. Your team should be able to be invited to another maybe tournament that is at a national level. Forgetting that these are young people, they are growing and they require that patience we have. And mostly under child protection principles, we have always said, do no harm. Remember, a team is like a family, and you're living in one house. It's like strictly one household because you're playing one ball. So you make sure that you're not doing any harm, or you're trying to empower them. You're trying to push them to go beyond the limit. Because if you actually impact or you effect any harm on them, that means your game will not play. Your competitiveness will diminish. And actually, some of the players might even decide to quit because they feel like they are being pushed high up to their limit and they are not able to maybe manage that. And so, as you can see, these are child trying to grow. They are dealing with so many issues. Maybe as child is in school, they are coming in to play in the evenings, or maybe you have this team that they always need to be coming, but then they are not performing well. So, as a coach, are you looking into that, or are you only concerned about your ball, or are you only concerned about your winning? So, and that's why we say at school, community, and sports settings, there are potential and preferable environment for young people, especially when you're looking at their mental health issues. And under the ideal model of support for young people on mental health, it actually looks at a young person. You look at, especially now you're looking at coaches, how they're working with the young people. You're looking at the team itself, because as I said, a team is a family. So how is the team working with one individual player who maybe has distress issues, who maybe has anxiety issues, or maybe who has had or who is affected by a family member who is maybe HIV positive or HIV, or they have had a number of cases where people have been found to be HIV positive. How is the team interacting with this particular player? Again, club administrators, because as much as you have the coach, you have those who are admitting. How are you dividing the tasks between the coaches? Are you giving too much work to the coaches? You look at sports administrators, you look at mental health services. How are you incorporating these mental health services into your team? How are you engaging community members? How are you engaging the parents of these particular children into this particular sport? Because as we say, the game is for you. The game is for the coach, the game is for the young person, the game is for the parent. Because if the young person goes out, competes and win, the parent is happy, they're able to bring in some good news. If the team belongs to the community is happy, and they take pride in that particular team. So how are we all doing this? So the second question I'd like to tackle was, how can sports events and community engagement activities be leveraged to raise awareness about mental health and HIV? And to this aspect, I look at sports and I look at the community. what is the community's contribution to the sport, or what is community contribution to the actual teams on the ground. And you look at a player who has a neurobiological, which enhances activities of the brain. You look at a player who has the psychosocial problems or sports that mostly they improve their well-being. You look at a player who might change in his behavior regarding how the coach or the community might that are always responding negatively, perhaps a conflict with the coach. Maybe they are not sleeping enough. Maybe the coach that is not allowing them to have that ample time to rest when they are fatigued. So how are the coaches interacting with their players? And from this point and perspective, I look at how can we be able to guide individuals, or how can we be able to guide these coaches in order to be able to actively respond to these young people or these players that they are working with, and especially when in this aspect of uh, the sporting environment. So for me, I realized that there was a model already in place. I don't know whether you have interacted with it, but normally for us, under child protection and child safeguarding, we normally have a model that we follow. But as for the coaches, there's already a model that exists, and the model has three different steps on how we can engage people or young people in conversations around mental health, making and actually paying attention to or being cautious that these young people, these players, have maybe had issues of mental health. Maybe there's one person, an individual, undergoing the same mental health issues, and maybe in the midst of the players, there are those that are being discriminated against. There are those that have been bullied. There are those that have actually been equally unequally identified. There are those that have actually been, as we said, and as Colin said, that those have been molested. That meaning that they have been sexually abused either by the coach or maybe a fellow player, because at times even young people might gang up against one another and either bully them or abuse them sexually, and they can even use words that might appear as derogative. So how can we deal with all these cases? The first thing as a coach is you notice that there's a problem, and your intention here is to you are trying to find the warning signs. And some of these warning signs are maybe the feeling somebody is showing signs of sadness. Somebody is always showing signs of anger, especially towards other team members. Even you as a coach, maybe they are looking like they are empty. They're empty. They cannot feel. You're not feeling that. You see that this person has the potential, but it's not as they have been every day. Because at this moment, you see they are moving into an empty space where you cannot be able to find that game. Because I know as coaches, you're always looking out for that perfect tackle. You are looking out for that perfect game from these young people. So how do you do that? You're also trying to find out about their thoughts. Are there issues of guilt? Is there a player or a young person worried that whatever they're doing might be wrong? Do they seem to have like confused thinking? Because sometimes when a person has mental health issues, and I said you don't have to be sick to be mentally ill. When somebody has mental health issues, especially when you have something like schizophrenia allows you to see things differently. The reality becomes unreality. You begin to hallucinate. You ask him, the coach is asking for the ball, but as the student or the player or the student is actually giving out maybe his own shoes. So is there a confusion in their thinking? You look at their behavior. is there any withdrawal activities? Maybe this person was actually very active in the field, but to a certain points they become inactive. They don't respond to how they used to respond before. Perhaps some of them have this excessive anger. Their behavior shoots up. Their anger actually shoots up, and that replicates to other players. And actually, it actually goes on ahead to building conflict. If perhaps a player was abusing drugs, you find that sometimes most of the players, and we have even seen it from the international players, most of them tend to abuse drugs. So have they gone up, or have they stopped abusing drugs? Or what are they doing towards this behavior? Another thing is how are they functioning while they are with you? How are they functioning in school? And I've always said, as much as a player plays football, always emphasize that education is very important. And I've always said, education, to me, there's this quote I say, everything is good, but everything without education can be nothing. Because, and I'll give a very simple example. Early in, I think in 2017, there was this guy from France. He was from Senegal, a country in Senegal, and he was able to climb up about 4 or 5 floors, and he was able to save a child who was about to fall from a building. And that guy got recognized by the president of France, and they even gave him a job, and they gave him a French citizenship. But then later, the guy was found out as being a homeless person. Yet he was given a job in a fast station. You ask yourself, what went wrong? Education, 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 education. If you don't have the basic education, it becomes difficult for you to manage your life, to manage yourself, to manage your financials. And for him, funny enough, this is how it is. In France, you find that you need to be, as a firefighter, or as a fireman, you need to get to a certain extent where, as you advance in your career, you also advance or you build yourself. So the guy kept himself in that comfortable space, and he forgot to actually improve on himself. And when later they came, they said, we gave you a job, you're here, you're not working 24 hours, and at this moment, we cannot continue working with you because we want you to advance, or we want you to build yourself, you to do something for yourself, and at least not depend only on this job of being a farmer. And the guy became a street person. So he roamed so many days on the street until he was even found by a reporter who wrote his story. So when you're looking at a young person or a sports person, you should also be able to encourage them that they should be able to focus on education. Because if they are doing better in education, then they'll be able to do better in sports. And if they're doing better in sports, they have the capacity to do much better in education. You also look at their physical changes. And I said, sleep disturbance. Are they sleeping enough? Are they coming to practice on time? Are they seeing or hearing things that aren't there? Are they hallucinating? Because you can be telling them, jump, somebody sits down. So is there a problem? Is there, and then again, are they eating well? A balanced diet is always an efficient way to build up a sportsman. So the second step as a coach is to engage. And this is, you address how a young person may be experiencing mental health problems. And especially this, you provide guidance, structuring an initial conversation around mental health and signs of mental health. So this should be able to actually provide a clear and practical guide for you approaching a conversation with a young person. Because if you're not able to approach a young person, then as a coach, you might have failed in your work.
Sorry, excuse
Probably
me,
you might
Samuel.
have failed. Yes.
Yes, sorry for interrupting. I give you around 3 minutes to wind up.
Sure, thank you.
Please do. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So are you able to interact with them? Are you able to engage with them? Are you able to identify what these warning signs? Are you able to initiate a conversation with them? And initiating a conversation with them begins by asking some questions. I see some concerns. Are you okay? Are you actually able to talk to, as is the this sports person or is this young person able to speak to you as a coach? Are there imminent risks that you see in this young person that maybe might lead to this young person harming themselves or harming somebody else? So finally, what you do as a coach, you will also be able to assess and act. You assess and act. And by assessing, I mean as the late stage, you come up with maybe a shared plan. You talk to the young person. You be able to put them in a box where they are comfortable with you. And we say fields are supposed to be comfortable and free spaces, and they're supposed to be safe spaces for young people. So if as a coach you're not providing this space for young people, how can they then build confidence in you? Because as a coach, as a leader, it's all about building confidence with young people. It's all about building trust. And when you build trust with these young people, they have you as their gatekeeper to protect them. So under actions that we are learning from this and how we can actually implement them on the field is actually by increasing or raising awareness. Let people know, and let us recognize. Let us, as coaches, be able to recognize these warning signs. Let us know when and when not to speak to these young people, and especially because they're conversations that require experience. They're conversations that require expertise. Also, let us build a culture of sport where everyone is bound together as a team, where everyone, it shows that actually you're trying to support mental health, and we're actually trying to promote and actually impend that sporting of excellence among young people. And another thing we need to do is we identify champions. Out of those members you have as your sporting team, out of those members as you have as your team, identify persons or young person that can act as champions, because these champions have a closer relationship with the team, and they're able to identify and talk to these other young people. And it's actually clear when you talk when you have this to help them, you drive the agenda of mental health within that particular club. Another thing is you open lines of communication. Be open, be empathetic, listen to these young people, know their problems and know their issues. But most of it, remember that you're trying to have that art of conversation, so that you're able to know if this young person is really suffering, or do they need to be referred somewhere, or is there anything I can do to support? So in that, we can also encourage participation. One of the principles of children rights under the International Convention of the Rights of the Child is participation. Allow these young people to express themselves. Let's say not, we do not say your word is final. Allow them to express themselves, and that way you'll be able to come to a conclusion and even have better results, even in your competitiveness. And as well, let us embrace diversity, where we do not discriminate, but we include everyone and we accept them as they are. And mostly, we focus so much on strengthening their weaknesses. So another thing, you also foster wellness and resilience. Football is an actually is a very good space where we can actually build resilience for young people. With the organizations and with the economic situations in Kenya and even in Africa and even globally, what we're trying to build right now is resilience, because so many young people have fallen into this deep trap of mental health. So many people have fallen into this deep trap of poverty. And if you look carefully, the about 75% of African population is made up of young people. So if we cannot build their resilience, and that's why we have so many organizations coming up, trying to build sports, trying to put these young people into sports, because they're trying to build that resilience, and they're also trying to build their talents so that they can be able to look after themselves and also be able to encourage others. And again, build links to external supports. And as I said, referrals, referrals, referrals. These are young people. They require you as a coach. You are remember, you are the gatekeeper there. Refer them to the nearest health center. Refer them to a social worker you know. Refer them to an organization you know that can safely handle their issues. Refer them maybe to another organization that perhaps can be able to focus on issues of mental health. Because as much as your game is concerned, if a player is not upright here, especially on their mental health, then or their mental well-being, then they are not able to perform as to your expectation. So we say that we are not expected to, assume the role of a mental health practitioner, but it is still a strong push that you have a clear guidance on how you respond and direct a young person to necessarily support or identify signs of distress once identified. So thank you so much, and let me know when you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel Kungu. Very insightful thoughts, engagement, discourse you've given unto us. We appreciate that very much. If there is any question, please, we shall be able to do that in our interactive session when we open the forum. But please, we implore upon you, don't log out. Just stay with us. In just a few, we'll be able to open the forum, open the floor for us to engage all the participants today. So I want to say that we've gone a bit overboard. And so I want to welcome on board Watson. I see Watson is on board. Please, Watson, take your minutes, give us your keynote address, make it as brief as possible, but as insightful as possible. So Watson, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaumba. And thank you so much, Youth Initiative Development, for this interactive session and this platform to just share experiences from different countries, and hoping that everyone else is here learning. Also, thank you so much to the founder, CEO, Mr. Dundo, for the opportunity to just allow me present at this platform. For the invited guests as well, thank you so much. Mr. Kungu, that was a very insightful presentation. I've learned quite a lot, and maybe after this meeting, I'll try to catch up with you on LinkedIn if you are on LinkedIn, so that we can connect and just share experiences from both countries. I know I have 5 minutes, but can I skip my my introductions? Of course, my name is Watson Mandulea, and Child Protection and Health Programs Officer at Access to Health Zambia. Don't worry about CMMB. We are part of the Global Inc. CMMB family, but recently we localized and we're a local organization called Access to Health Zambia. I have spent more than 7 years in the child protection and health sector, but my first 5-6 years of my career were into HIV programming, sexual reproductive health, and I was involved in training a lot of peer educators around our country, Zambia. Can you allow me to share, because I came up with a sort of presentation that I can just use for this time?
Yes, just a minute. Just ready your presentation. You are going to share in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, our technical team is just there with you. Okay. Okay. Yes, you can go ahead. Are together? Watson?
Yes.
You can. Yeah.
Are you seeing my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to present on leveraging the power of sports for child protection and holistic health in Africa. Of course, we are talking about empowering coaches with the right tools. So when we talk about child protection and child safeguarding, when we say child protection, we mean we are talking about specific actions that are done to protect specific children. For example, we can talk about children that are at risk of separation from their parents or from their communities, and as well as children with disabilities and many other vulnerable children, such as children that are living with HIV as well. But when we talk about child safeguarding, we are talking about the policies, procedures, and the practices that organization or countries make to ensure that children are in a safe environment. So when we say policies, we mean policies at all levels. This could be at the organization level, at the team level, at the club level, at the national level as well. Are there policies or guidelines that are in place to ensure that children are safe? In Africa, we have a lot of challenges regarding child safeguarding and child protection. You may need to note that safeguarding children's rights in Africa has been a very critical issue, especially in countries that are facing conflicts. I'll not mention here, but I think we know countries that have wars, civil wars, conflicts. It's difficult in safeguarding children's rights in those countries. We are talking about physical force being rampant as well among African countries. I don't know where you're coming from, maybe in Kenya there, but here in Zambia, we still have some communities, especially in rural areas, where people are still using physical force, as a way of discipline. We also have lack of support services. And when I say support services, in as much as we are talking about using sports for child protection and health, for child safeguarding, but do we have these sporting facilities in our countries? Do we have health facilities available for everyone? Do we have education facilities as well as existing social support under the social welfare? Are they there? And if they're there, another question would be, are they accessible? I'll give you just an example of when I was a child. I was walking about 10 kilometers to the nearest school and about 12 kilometers, to the nearest health facilities. So, and transportation is also a challenge on top of that. So those are some of the issues some of the challenges that I know in Africa we're facing. We can talk about the weak policies that we have, even the gaps that exist, especially in the child protection and safeguarding policies that the countries implement. Data as well. And I think there's someone who mentioned, I think it was Mr. Dundo who mentioned about data not being available for, to inform policies around child safeguarding, and as well as lack of gender sensitive and inclusive approaches to child protection. Even within clubs as well, you'll realize that there are a lot of gender disparities that exist, as well as, inclusive approaches. We can talk about including children with disabilities in our sporting arenas. Do we have sports? Is sports such, comprehensive that it caters as well as it also includes children with disabilities, so that as well they participate and they feel being part of the community as well as being respected. I know we have many challenges, but I thought I should highlight some of those challenges. I do not know if some of these challenges exist in Kenya, but I think in Zambia we have some of these challenges observed. Why are we talking about sport? We know sports is an important hub and channel for social change and also health practices. Sports has opportunity to increase safety and rights education for children. And I think the previous speaker had highlighted a number of issues around how sports can be used as a platform to deliver mental health, strategies. Sports can empower children and do empower children with life skills and resilience so that children feel empowered all the time. Sports can encourage children to not resorting to live in the streets and engaging in bad vices. We know and we are fully aware that children sometimes, because of mental health problems, because of lack of services and because of lack of support in the home environment, they resort to living on the streets. Even also drugs highly expose them to resort to live in the streets. But sports stay away or stay safe. Yes.
Yes, you are breaking some time.
Hello?
So that, yes, but now you are better now. Continue, please.
Okay. Yeah, and the last point here is that participating in sports should be a positive experience, and children have the right to feel safe and when they take part. But we know that this is not always the case. I think the previous speaker as well mentioned that children should enjoy the game. Children should participate without being disrespected. Children should have access. But the question is, are children safe even as they, play the game? Are the adolescents safe in as much as they participate in those sporting activities? Are they safe not only from the coaches or from the administration, but are they safe also from the community that is around them? These are some of the questions that we need to begin to look at. We can't rule out that abuse also, which vulnerable children and adolescents may encounter in a sporting setting, are on the rampant today. We have examples of some of these abuses that may happen in the sporting setting, including emotional abuse, where administration or coaches may, be involved in repeated criticism, sarcasm, name calling, you are what, even racism, as well as, sexism. These practices may lead to child feeling not part of the team, not part of the game, and even not part of the community. Just being excluded from the sporting event might also make them feel that they cannot be part of this community. And that's why we have mental health issues among children who even end up hanging themselves. Physical abuse as well is one of the issues that affect that vulnerable children might face in a sporting setting. This includes intentional hitting or harming of a child, including hitting, shaking, throwing. We know that coaches, administration, and everybody else would want to discipline a child or to correct a behavior, but really is using physical abuse a way of correcting children, correcting players, correcting these adolescents that are part of the team, some of which may go far as intensive training. These are some of the abuses that children might face. I can't also rule out that grooming is becoming so rampant in teams. Coaches and staffing and everybody else want to build this connection, emotional connection with the child, but their intentions that they should have some kind of sexual abuse or exploitation or criminal exploitation for these children. Neglect as well is among those abuses that puts children at risk of not only being part of the team, but also it affects their overall well-being as a child. Sports is a great tool for child protection and health. Sports is a great tool for child safeguarding. One issue that we need to look at, the first issue that we need to look at is focusing on the health and safety practices that you, as a team or as a club, will embark on. This may be a strategy, okay, on how you can help the safety and the health of the players that are in that club. It could be partnering with different organizations, government institutions, so that you can provide the right education. The previous speaker just emphasized much on education, that education is key for these players to make decisions around resiliency, decisions around financial stability, decisions around even their health. Testing, could be different, testing, not only HIV, but other testing other testing that are done in different communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases. Also assessing checkups and also providing referrals. And I think this is one thing that also was emphasized in the previous keynote, that we need to provide referrals. As a coach, you can't be an expert for everything. You need to work with the different institutions to enable to support your team members. You need to prioritize as a team, as a club, on identifying and managing risks. And we are talking about safeguarding and health protocols here that you as a club have put in place to ensure the safety of your organization or of your team members, of your members that are even partners. How are they protecting? And this ensures that you as an organization, or you as a club, or you as a coach, is safe, as well as the partners are safe, as well as the players within that team are safe. Also, developing a code of conduct, standard and policies. This can happen at a club level. This can happen at an organizational level. This can happen even at the national level. These, we need them. We need to draw an agenda as team members, as organizations. We need to draw an agenda to help governments, work with the government and complement their efforts, especially in developing policies that are child sensitive. But as a team coming to the community level, do you have this code of conduct? Do you have these ethics put in place just to help yourselves support the well-being of these children? Training also must be key for staffs and partners and stakeholders. And what I mean by training, I mean every appropriate training. Could be training on mental health, could be training on child protection, could be training on child safeguarding, could be training on various issues that affects your players under your team. What we need to know here is that coaches, sport admins, and everybody else need to know some of these points or questions. First one is where, when, and how they affect children. What policies and procedures are needed in place in order to protect the children, players, and everybody else that you're working with? Who is the designated safeguarding persons? I know that in clubs, sometimes you might not have human resource personnel that will focus on, supporting the safeguarding, safeguarding strategy or policy for your organization. But in as much as you do not have that, as a team, can you put in place somebody? And the very person who is at the heart of this is the club admin themselves, the coach themselves. They should take a leading role in ensuring that there are, safeguarding practices that are put in place to protect your players and to protect every other children that are involved in your team. Even just not about yourself, but even those that get into contact with you. Remember, I said partners and also stakeholders, people that come into your team to support you in any way. Do they know those guidelines that you've put in place to ensure that children, to ensure that adolescents, ensure that players are protected? What training is needed? Have you come across, training that is needed? For football, FIFA, I think they have put in place different training modules that are online and they're available for everyone to take, for free. So you can learn and understand how you can protect the well-being of children, the well-being of your players, in as much as you deal with them. But also you need to know and be aware always that in as much as you may put across every policy, every guideline, every code of conduct, abuse may still take place. It can be abuse between the players themselves, abuse between you, the coach, and the players. This can still take place. So we need to be always, you need to be always taking a proactive role in identifying these risks and also finding strategies to manage these risks on child safeguarding. With this, I say thank you so much for the opportunity to present, and I'll allow questions even later, or I'll be available for any questions that may be posted. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Watson. That was very, very great, and that was very, very informative and insightful. We've really gotten a lot of insights from your presentation, and I believe going forward, you're going to incorporate some of these and share with them some of the coaches within the platform and those that are on the ground dealing with the children and the young people, trying to nurture their talent. Now, thank you very much. I think we are trying to to catch up with our time. I don't want to speak so much. What is remaining now from our schedule is just going straight into our power minutes. I shared with you before is that we are going to engage randomly anyone from the chat box, from our participant, just to give us a 2 minutes insight about our topic of the day. For our power minutes, we are going to keep it as brief as possible so that we are able to arrest time. Now, without wasting a lot of time, I want to randomly pick on one of our participants present in the assembly today, so that you're able to give us just a brief insight on the topic of the day. So I want to call upon Dr. Theo Mboni. I can see you are on. Please give us your 2 minutes insight about whatever we are engaging in today. 2 minutes, Daktari. I can see you are on. Dr. Theo, I can see you.
Yes, hello everybody.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm very excited attending this Congo. So I really enjoyed all the presentations, and I am eager to take action into health because I am a medical doctor. So I think with health, maybe also sports here in the Congo, something can be done, because for example, in sport, I read lately some coaches in some clubs here.
You're breaking, Daktari. Can't hear you well.
Hello?
Yes, you are breaking. I can't hear you well.
I'm saying this. Do
Yes,
you hear me?
Yes, now you're better.
Okay, I said, as I'm a medical doctor, I will surely take actions into health. Especially, I am a member of a league, which is a mental league here in the Congo, which is named Linazam. So I would like to take action into health with that part of actions here in the Congo. And I also was commenting on sports because there was lately a report telling that some coaches here in the Congo abused children. They abused infants, making them and I could so obliging them to become their sex partners just for those children. They were under 15. So I think probably we could here in the Congo intervene into sports and health. It's at least what I can make also as comments, but I really enjoyed all the presentations.
Oh, thank you very much, Daktari. Great rejoinder there, and I believe we are going to get more as we progress going forward. I can see a hand raised, that is Odinga Isaiah. We can give you as part of Power Minutes, because you've just fried yourself. We give you 1.5 minutes or two, make a concern. Please go ahead. I can see your hand raised. Before we open the forum, but use this moment, part of the Power Minutes. Can't hear you. Just unmute, please. You are still on mute. Yes, now you
okay,
are.
fine.
Okay.
First, I would like to introduce myself as Odinga Isaiah Abuor. I'm a coordinator of Citizen Voice and Action. I've heard you talking as the two speakers have talked about the young ones, especially on the sports side and the health. Now, as the coordinator, as the Citizen Voice and Action, who is advocate for the right of the people, I was touched. So that's why I raised my hand. I should talk, because there are some of the things that hindering with our youths on their sides of sports and health also. If I look at, according to the constitution of our country, if I look at the Article 10 of 2, where it provides the national values and the principle of governance in our country, I find that if we look at the power, the rule of the law, the democracy and the patriotism, or the participations of the people, human
You are lost. Can't hear you, Odinga. I can't hear you. Are you still with us, Isaiah? Isaiah, you are not audible. We can't hear you. We are going to cede. You're going to cede ground for another person to continue the Power Minute session. You are on, but we can't hear you. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it seems to have dropped. Yes, it seems to have dropped. I think there is a technical hitch there, but we are working on it faster enough so that he's able to come back on session. Without wasting a lot of time here, please, let me again poke somebody else randomly. Patrick Mangoni, I saw you on session. Please give us your 1.5 minutes, Power Minutes, please. A concern, a rejoinder. I can see you, you're on set. Patrick Mangoni. Power Minutes, 2 minutes. Just unmute. Patrick, I can be able to see you. Okay, I think Patrick also has a few itches here and there. I want to pick randomly. I can see Patrick is on session. Now let me move to any other person. Theophile, Oliver, you are on session. Theophile, we can engage you on this for 1.5 minutes or two. Just give us any insight you have with us. Theophile Oliver, boss. Are we together? I can see Patrick is with us. I can see Theophile. Just to give us some insight. I hope we are not experiencing technical hitch. If you are experiencing, please let us know so that our technical team to come on if we can be able to assist. So okay, I'm seeing some concerns. I'm seeing a concern from Catherine Wanjiro. Okay, we are going to address that when we are doing. I have shared my presentation. Okay, good. I can see a few. Okay, there is also Watson has been able to share with us his presentation, which is very good. You can be able to see it from the chat box there. So that would be very important. Now, okay, I want to give Collins Dundo. Can you give us your 1 or 2 minutes, power minutes, so that we are able to wrap up that session? I don't want to believe that the rest have developed cold shoulder. I don't want to believe that. Thank you, Collins. If you are with us, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for giving me this opportunity. Once again, I would like to applaud to our speakers for today. It was really an insightful discussion, and by the look of things, there is serious need for collaboration of different stakeholders. And I've heard Theo Mboni also raised a concern that there have been issues of molestations in the sports sector. And now they normally say if there are no numbers, it can't be quantified. So to me, it is not there. So how best can we collaboratively develop tools that will help us get this actual data that will help influence policies, and also that will help making decisions when it comes to allocation of funding and an awareness in those sectors. And another thing that I will really want to echo, it was mentioned by one of the speakers, just to mention is the referrals. If you are a service provider, it's high time now you use maybe more of a trickle down effort. I think that was mentioned by Samuel Kungu, referrals. So in sports sectors, majorly, you'll realize we have these challenges and there are so many, but sometimes coaches are like, they don't know where exactly they can refer these issues. When a child is suffering from mental health, where exactly can they refer these young people? And what affordability when it comes to maybe sending a child to be treated in the medical, private sector. So this is a serious concern, and I believe maybe while we'll be having an open forum, and some of the questions that we will raise to Samuel and maybe probably Watson, and maybe the team that are running this, I think we'll be able now to narrow down and come up with the best strategy possible so that we can help children to live a healthy, sustainable life. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Okay, thank you very much, Collins. I believe we are progressing well so far, and I want to believe that we are continuing to journey together. And at this moment, I don't want to waste a lot of time. I think we have exhausted our power minutes as at now. I can see some of us are still within session, within set. So I want to have the open forum, open discussion. This will take a very brief minutes. so that we're able to wrap up in good time. Because also I'm seeing people sending us DM telling us they're experiencing a few technical hitches here and there. Some you're able to resolve, some we may not be able to resolve in good time. So I want to have the open forum, and I've seen a question that has been addressed by Catherine. And open forum is for everyone. It's not just for specific people, not for the people who engaged us, just for everyone. But I've seen a question from Catherine Wanjiro, and she's asking, are interventions different depending on the sport? I want to throw this question to our second last presenter, that was Watson, to give us just 1 or 2 minutes to address that question. So the question is, are interventions different depending on the sports? So she's trying to ask, is each sport having a tailor-made intervention that can be able to address the issues surrounding that discipline? So I think that is what she's trying to ask. So I think, Watson, I can see you on call. Please give us 1 minute or 2, and we may be able to also give Kungu something if you have something to add on the same. Watson, please carry the day.
Well, when we talk about child protection and child safeguarding practices, they might not, we have standards in this. First of all, we need to recognize that there are standards at the global level. There are standards at the global level. There are standards with governing bodies. Global level, I mean the United Nations, that is coordinating many of these health and social protection issues. And then governing bodies, I mean bodies that guides each specific sports. I'll give you an example of the common body, which is FIFA. FIFA has guidelines that support coaches and support everybody else involved in sports in the area of child protection. Then we can now narrow it down to our other bodies, that's golf, and different bodies. But to be honest with you, practices are standard, are the same. The way you are going to deal with a safeguarding issue, even in sports like football, is the same way you're going to deal with this same issue, even in golf or other types of sports. It could even be the same way you're going to handle it in the health sector or in the education sector. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Watson. Well elaborated. Maybe I want to throw a question to Kungu. I saw him still on set. Yes, I can still hope he's not logged out. Yes, he's still around. Yes, you mentioned something about being just let me recap something you said about being interactive, being engaging, being initiating a discourse for the youth. Now, at what time, before the coaches start engaging the youth, at what time are we supposed to bring this discourse? Because sometimes maybe a youth has left the house knowing that they are going to train. At what time or what period, how long do you need to wait to start engaging them? Because some of them, if maybe they are seeing the challenge of age, maybe the coach is maybe older, is in the category, for example, quote unquote, the category of his father. And the young person being coached is maybe still a minor or a junior, so to say. At what time are you supposed to start opening up with them, engaging them, and also initiating such kind of talk that can be able to guide their behavior while you're training them, but also while they go back to the society, to their families? At what time or which time span do you need to wait? Thank you. I think I saw you, Kungu, if you can just respond to that.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. So to answer your question, I'll just give an example. Before a coach engages with the players or engages with the team, first of all, you need to create a team. And when you're creating a team is not just created by calling up people, just come, we create this team and that is it. Before that, we need to have a player who is willing to come in and play for you. And for them to do that, they have to be referred by somebody else. Maybe a friend, maybe a brother, who says, let's go to that team, let's form that team, let's integrate into that team. And from that, what we are saying here is we are trying to build a family. And when you're trying to build a family, you're building, the first thing is trust. You're trusting that person. And I'll mention something about trust, and I'll say something my colleague said about grooming. So when you trust somebody, you have that confidence in them. And now when you keep having that confidence, and as time goes by, because you don't expect, we say trust is not built in one day. It has to take a process. And for somebody to have that confidence in you, that means as a coach, you have to keep giving the students or the players the ability for them to showcase their skills. And you have to keep encouraging them, and you have to keep throwing back or giving them positive responses or evaluations. And from there, they keep growing closer and closer. And it's from this particular point that we now begin to notice your player whom you have been perhaps interacted with the last 2 or 3 months is beginning to change from being interactive to being closing themselves up. Maybe something is happening and they're not telling it to you. And sometimes you can just integrate, or you can just bring in players together, and you actually begin to see that that particular player, or maybe this particular player, is not a person who is open to everybody. Maybe they have people they are open to, but they are not maybe open to you. So you give them maybe a particular, let's say about 3 months for them to adjust into a team. And that is actually the whole sense of a team. You be building something together so that you can achieve more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel. I think that is very elaborate and understood very well. I want to take this opportunity. We want to wrap up this open forum in the next 2 or so minutes so that we are not behind time. Remember, we're also using technology, and also we have some timelines within which we can operate here and there. So I want us to wrap, unless somebody has a very, very burning concern, I would give you 1.5 minutes to close this. I'm seeing, okay, Samuel, you raised your hand. Yes, go ahead, please. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to add something on what my colleague has just said about interventions. I'll give you about three or four examples. One of them is one very famous player. Her name is Naomi Osaka. And I remember she was pulled out of the French Open League because she was not open to the media following her around and even asking questions. And I remember she was fined $15,000 for that because the media, like the sports management team, wanted her to be present to the media. But then she had to pull out. And this is somebody who is a tennis star, a world number 2. So she pulled out so that she can regain back her mental health. Another person was Serena Williams. She even said it. She struggles. Actually struggled dealing with her, especially postnatal depression after the birth of her child. And then she even took a break from tennis for 6 months so that she can be able to improve on her mental health. Another person was Michael Phelps. You all know him. He's a very good swimmer. And he had to go into rehab in 2014. So if you can be able to encourage this to young people, you can be able to refer to people that they know already. They know. You have heard people like Balotelli being shied on publicly, a footballer, like people calling them names publicly. And the team comes in and covers him over to mean that we are a team, we are a family. Our job is to protect one another. So if that can be, such intervention will actually help build that resilience on your team and will actually create that free space, or we call it safe space, for each and every one of your members of the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I think that was a very good addition that was, and also very elaborate for us. I think as we age towards the final minutes of our today's conversation, before we do any other thing, I saw Odinga back on set. Odinga, there was a thought you were having. I can give you a minute so that you can tie that thought together, close it, wrap it up. Then from there, we are going to have just closing call. Odinga, if you are with us, I can see you are back. Please give us, if that thought was finished, or if you didn't finish it, have a minute. Please, then we start having wrap-up calls. Okay, sorry, I'm told you've lost him once again. I think I can see his response from the chat box. He's saying he has had issues with the technical hitches here and there. I can see his yes, he had a problem with the signal. That is what he's trying to say, and then the apology there. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, unless somebody has a burning question or a concern, I will only give 30 seconds or a minute on the higher side. Then we start wrapping up our session for the day. Okay, welcome, Ramon. I can see you are in. We are just in the closing stages of this engagement, but it's also said better late than never. You shall be able to see some, at least you'll be able to get something at the end of the day. I can see Odinga is back on call. Odinga, you've raised your hand. Please, we give you 1 minute to wrap up because we are time bad. Please go ahead. Just unmute. Unmute, you've not unmuted. Just unmute and take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm back. I was having a signal.
I think I can't get you. You're breaking. Dinga, we can't get you. Okay, Odinga, I'm sorry. Ramon, I'll give you 1 minute, please. 1 minute. Ramon, I can see your hand up. Please make your contribution in a minute. Please go ahead, Ramon.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Actually, I'm calling from Nigeria.
Involving our youths when they are part one.
Ramon, go ahead, please.
Yes, okay. This is the National Coordinator for Youth Network on HIV in Nigeria. So actually, the topic for today's meeting and is one of the reasons why I actually registered for this program is very, very important topics that I think, youth organization and institutions across Africa, we need to start working together on some of these important issues as it affects young people. And why do we need to work together? We need to amplify our voice, when we have organizations across Africa. So now that, some of the African leaders have seen the reason why they need to work together, both economically and politically, so to bring Africa to where Africa is supposed to. So some of these issues too, we need to start bringing it on table. So because as the leaders, they are making, some decisions, so decision can also be made around, issues affecting young people across Africa, because the youth are the major resources that, the Africa has. When you look at the population of Africa, that Africa is a continent of youth. So in that regard, so beyond this, so I want us to see why we'll be having some of these kind of conversations that will make it to cross beyond East Africa, across all other Africa. Like for us now, we are ready to partners. We are ready to work with any other youth organizations across Africa to amplify the voice of the youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ramon, for your contribution. It was a very good contribution, a very good rejoinder to the discussion we're having going forward. I want to, at this moment, before I close, I'll give 2 final speakers for the day. And if you check from our program, the last bit is call to action, which is going to be spearheaded by Catherine Wanjiro. And then finally, we are going to have closing remarks and the wrap up of the upcoming events. Sorry, Robinson has been having technical hitches based on where he is at the moment. So that is going to be taken over by Colin Salandundo, who is the CEO and the interim CEO and the co-founder of YIDP. So at this moment, I want to give Catherine Wanjiru. Catherine, I can see you on a call. Please give us a call to action so that we are able to wrap up. After that, just to welcome Collins so that Collins can be able to wrap for us this session. On my own behalf as your moderator, I want to thank everybody who took his opportunity or her opportunity to be part of this engaging session going forward. And so I want to call on us to be very vigilant based on whatever has been shared today, very insightful. And we've also taken some notes about our engagement going forward. The society can never be better when those who live in the society are not bettering themselves. So that is the call I have from my side. And I want to welcome, without speaking too much, welcome Catherine. Catherine, please unmute, take the mic, and give us call to action going forward. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Kavin. I think something that we can all agree that has been extensively emphasized during this session is that sports and health may be different fields, but they don't have to work in isolation, and they should not continue working in isolation. Rather, we've seen that the link between health and sports is very clear. Health is essential for participation in sports, and sports, on the other hand, also helps to promote health, such as physical fitness. And if we look at it from the perspective of mental health, we know about stress relief, formation and strengthening of social networks. And if we narrow down to the children, we have seen that sports are good tools of empowering children to be able to test their relationship building skills, to be able to strengthen their own skills, interpersonal skills, to appreciate their gifts and talents in the sports arena, and to develop self-confidence, and also to be able to expand their social networks. So where does that leave us? And one of the things that I've really picked from the conversation, and thank you so much to all the speakers and all the people who have contributed, is that we as coaches, we have been extensively challenged to be the promoters, to be advocates, and even responders to mental wellness, because when we are with the players, we wear very many caps. To one person, you will look like an older brother. To another person, you'll be an uncle, a father, a cousin, a neighbor, and many other things. And the good thing about this is that when you are with the players for quite some time, you get to a point of even just knowing them beyond the field. You get to know their families and a little bit about the background, because most of these grounds are within a space where it's within even residential areas. So knowing where they come from is also key for us. And I have picked quite a number of activities that we should proceed with going forward, because I believe we should not just share, we should also be able to walk the talk. One of the things that has been extensively emphasized is that we as coaches, we need to be aware that as we wear the very many caps, we are also standing in to set an example to the players. Whether we set a good example or a bad example, that is up to us. But I do hope that we will pick up the courage and we will pick up the space of really setting a good example to our players. So that means that if there are several teams, like maybe if you are in a tournament and you are not so warm towards other coaches, your players can easily pick on that because they are children. And when they pick on that, in no time you might start seeing the same habit extending to the players and even to other people within the community. So that leaves us with a challenge of really setting a good example based on how we interact with other coaches. And as other coaches, we've also been challenged to level the ground such that it's a safe space for everybody. It's a safe space where children, if they have an issue and they see you as a father figure, a brother figure, an uncle figure, they can come on forward and be able to address some of the challenges that they have, so that you can both be able to find the best solution forward. And that also means that when we create such a good space, it's also creating a ground for us to be able to educate, such that if there was to be, maybe if we look at it from the perspective of HIV, if there was to be a session where people have to be called from different directions so that they can come maybe and be tested or being taught about stigma and discrimination, or maybe mental health disorders and other matters. They can be able to respond. They can come and collaborate because they know that the sports arena is a good space for them. Another thing that we've been challenged is that we as coaches, we also need to look at the sports beyond the sports, beyond it being as a fun activity. We also need to be able to look at the attitudes and the behavioral changes within ourselves and within our team. Are they bullying one another? Is there a decrease in performance? Are there signs of distress? Are there children who really are not active as they used to be? Are there children who no longer show up? Because when we are in the community, that gives us the leverage of us getting to know them at even at a closer level. Another thing that we've been challenged is to also empower ourselves, to familiarize ourselves with matters to do with child protection. And I like that Watson mentioned that there's a free training program on FIFA, if I got that correctly. That is a challenge for us, even as coaches, going onto such platforms and getting to see what exactly is happening in other areas of the world and empowering ourselves with that knowledge. We can also and also should develop codes of conduct that should be within the sports setting. I would like to draw from my personal experiences. When I was young and we used to play, I would realize that anytime a team was defeated, the team that won would really name call the other team. And now looking back with the knowledge that I have about mental health and human interactions, I see that was not a very good image. And sometimes I think our coaches were not aware of the damage that such utterances were causing onto the other team and even any other person. Because when you are pushed to the corner, or when you are shamed because of a temporary defeat, that can bring about a fear of not wanting to participate in such forums in future. And before you know it, we will have a field with no players. And
Sorry, Catherine.
Sorry. Yes. Yes, Kevin. Okay. Let me.
Yes, please go ahead, Catherine.
Yes, I do have just a few more points that
you are breaking. You are breaking, but now you are.
Okay, apologies. I see. Okay, yeah. Just a few more points that were also emphasized is that we also need to be aware of the social and cultural differences, and especially when tied to the matter of abuse. Abuse sometimes can be a bit subjective. The way that you would approach somebody, you would think you are approaching them in a way of trying to discipline them, but that can also be misinterpreted. And I think there is a challenge for us as coaches to really familiarize ourselves with the dynamics of abuse. And another thing that that has been emphasized really, and I like that it came from the person who just joined last, is that we also need to advocate whatever we see on the ground. We also need to join high-level discussions, whether it's about policy formulation, policy amendment, implementation of strategic plans, any other thing. Because really, if the problem is at the community level and those at the national level are really not aware of it, that means that there will be a recurring cycle of problems. So it's really a challenge for us as coaches to ensure that we are getting into the advocacy space, that whenever there is a call for maybe ideas on how change can be implemented, that really we are not looking down on the knowledge that we have gathered on the ground, but rather we are sharing it with the right people who are sitting at the decision-making places, and also challenging ourselves to take up such spaces, so that if it's advocacy and funds are being dispersed to different areas to maybe tackle a certain in relation to mental health, we are at the front line of ensuring that the players that we have been entrusted with really get the support that they really need. And again, just a few more points is that we also need to identify risks and respond to them appropriately. And one of the cases that I can draw from our country, Kenya, is that just a few months ago, there were frequent cases of demonstrations. And I think as a coach, taking it upon themselves to realize that such situations are a bit risky for your players, and being able to offer psychosocial support in a way that you can is really key. But also as coaches, we do need to realize we don't have to carry the entire burden on ourselves. That's why we need to lean on the mental health professionals within our community, the parents of these children, creating a safe spaces where they can come and share ideas, really introducing discussions about mental health and other topics related to mental health that would give us an avenue for us to be able to understand what is happening in their lives outside of the field. And lastly, as a coach, it's also important for you to also take care of your mental health, because if you are distressed, if you are disturbed, if you are struggling with maybe substance abuse, you may not be able to offer the support that the players who are looking up to you really need. So the next time that you're on the ground, if you are a coach, I would want to challenge you, as whenever, anytime, maybe before the game starts or after the game ends, really, just take a few minutes and ask each player, how are you doing? Thank you. Over to you, Kavins.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Catherine. Yes. Okay. So at this point of time, that was so profound, Catherine. I would like to thank you about that. And to all speakers, this is a very informative discussion, even though the numbers are low, but the kind of knowledge that have been shared here is very profound, that will be able to share it with relevant stakeholders. This will help even to influence policies, and also help even the way coaches or we do things in the field. And this also will help in a way that we integrate health and sports, which has come up so clearly that there is a little of disconnect between health and sports. So it's high time, coaches, we need to do something. And that starts as soon as possible so that we can save lives. At this point, I'll try to make some slight announcement that's about the upcoming events. So this discussion was plugged in. This was like a kickstart of the soccer tournament that we will be having on 5th to 8th of December. And many a times we've done it now more than 3 times. This is our 4th edition of tournament. Like I mentioned earlier, we've been trying to create an awareness on mental and physical well-being of young people. And the challenge that we are facing as an initiative that we really want to make this conversation a profound and escalate it to grassroots level is a little misunderstanding between coaches. They lack this knowledge, so they really need to be empowered so that they can help our children. And also they really need to know these stakeholders that they can work in collaboration with. And again, we really need to build a database of these grassroots clubs, because this will help us have the data with us and know how best we can roll up trainings. Because as youth initiative, we believe in the power of transformation and in the power of mobilization of resources, regardless of lack of resources, but still we can come up with our knowledge as youth to be able to save the next generation, because we are the generation that many people are looking up to, and we have a new generation which is coming behind us. And this generation, if they are not healthy, then to me will not have a generation in the future. So if the tournament will be in Kenya, this is unfortunately even to the other clubs and those who are in the sports from different countries, but I'm trying to visualize in a way on how we can build a partnership with different sports sectors across Africa, and then we blend it with the health. Then we'll be to move from one country to another or set up a country whereby we bring in different teams from different countries. Then we have more of a workshop or a conference whereby we learn on this and the integration, and this will be very impactful. And I believe, and when we do it more frequent, then we'll set the pace and it become a routine. And then we'll be able now to save life, like I mentioned earlier. So we have the tournament coming up. It will be in Nairobi, Kenya. And normally we focus doing our tournaments at grassroots where the problem is. We tend to be where the problem is. And if we are creating an awareness, we are creating an awareness where the problem is, and then people will be able to take action. Other than taking tournament where there is no problem, now taking an action become more of a challenge. And next year, May, we will be having our summit and mental health run. Mental health has even come out so strongly even in our conversation. It is mental health is just like any other health. And now what makes mental health a problem that no other, which has not been given priority? This is because we don't have data, like I mentioned. And how best can we get the right data, and how best can we scale up awareness so that we can all collaboratively take action towards building this sustainable healthy community, is through embracing technology. And how do we embrace technology in mental health? There are some variety of good innovations that can help us and even be integrated at grassroots level, so that at the end of the year, we'll be able to collect data that will be best for making decision. Otherwise, we'll just be talking and no proper action, because we don't have the data that will help us in making the right decision. So please, if you are in Nigeria, you are in Zambia, you are in South Africa, you are in Uganda, you are in Tanzania, please next year plan to come to Kenya. Come, run and walk with us so that we can create this an awareness across border. And then also we'll have an engaging and interactive sessions of a summit, which will bring high level people together with the youth, having a conversation around issues that are affecting them mentally, and how best they can work together in ensuring that every one of us is accessing these services and every one of us are healthy. So at this point, I'll conclude by thanking all our guests who have dialed in for today's conversation. It is one of the conversations that many people shy off, but for the few that have managed to dial in, we really thank you so much. And this conversation, we really need it. We really have to keep it going. And many a times we'll reach out to you so that we can maybe try to bring in different ideas, different knowledge on board, so that at the end of the year, we'll have a very polished or refined knowledge that will help us grow as a society. So our guests, our panelists, and our partners, at this point, I would like to thank you all and make sports and health one thing without having any separation, integrate it so well that it's youth friendly and also that is transformative, so that we can have a society tomorrow. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, and bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, and thank you, the Youth Initiative Development Program. We look forward to your next activity.
Thank you so much, Samuel.